I love the NBA. I think offseason drama is one of the best parts of our sport. But I'm getting sick and tired of this Giannis Antetokounmpo story. It feels like it's been years that they've been reporting that Giannis may or may not be traded. And today I see a news story come out that says that Giannis doesn't want to leave Milwaukee, but he wants to leave the Milwaukee Bucks. What the heck does that mean? Is he trying to go play for the Green Bay Packers this season? At what point is this man going to just outright demand a trade? Giannis, we are not going to judge you for wanting to get out of Milwaukee. You won a championship, and it is beyond time. It is good for both the organization, the Milwaukee Bucks, and it is good for Giannis Antetokounmpo to go ahead and make these moves. Before we get into it more, make sure you take a second to subscribe to the channel. We just passed 1,400 subscribers. We'll be covering the NBA all offseason, so if you love the NBA, take a second to subscribe. So, in May of 2025, Shams reported that for the first time, Giannis was considering a trade out of Milwaukee. Last offseason, it sounded like there might be something that happened, and it fell through. Then at the trade deadline, again, maybe a trade's going to happen, maybe it won't. It fell through. And right now, it sounds like Giannis is going to be traded this offseason, but the Bucks have put a deadline on Tuesday's NBA draft that they need a trade done by that point so that they can get some draft compensation for this upcoming draft. Obviously, we know it's a really good, deep draft, but the teams that they're working with do not have super good picks. We'll get into the teams here in a second because I'm just confused at the trade packages or how this is going to be a better circumstance for those teams. But it's being reported over and over again by Shams that Giannis is now about to get traded. He's now about to get traded. He's open to a trade. The Milwaukee Bucks are looking to maybe move him. Holy smokes, at some point something has to happen. Again, we love drama. We love storylines so we can talk about them, debate them, do mock trades, all those sorts of things. But at some point, it just has to happen. At the end of this season, Giannis was literally trying to get his team in trouble, reporting them for the fact that he was healthy and they were not letting him play in basketball games because they wanted to lose. So I just don't this relationship is clearly broken. Shams called it toxic again and again and again, yet nothing has happened. And it's really starting to frustrate me. Obviously, something could break here in the next day or two before Tuesday's NBA draft, but we're running out of time. And if we go another time period that it's reported that this man is going to be traded and it doesn't happen, it's just going to be so frustrating. But let's talk specifically about a couple of the teams that he wants to go to. The front runner right now sounds like the Miami Heat. It sounds like there's a very high chance that if he gets traded, he will end up in Miami. That's why I'm wearing my new D-Wade Miami Heat jersey. But the trade for Giannis, to me, does not make a lot of sense for the Miami Heat or for Giannis. If he's wanting to go to a team where he can contend for a championship, Miami's going to have to strip most of its roster in order to trade for him. In my opinion, he should want to go somewhere that is draft capital rich, that they can trade, a bunch of draft picks, good draft picks, and still get him and keep the core of their roster together. I don't know how a team that will be sporting Andrew Wiggins, Bam Adebayo, Norman Powell, and Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to be a real title contender. That doesn't sound like an awesome team to me. Sounds like they're going to be getting rid of Tyler Hero, Jaime Jaquez, Kel'el Ware, Nikola Jovic, the 13th pick in this draft, and future first. And while that's not the greatest package, in my opinion, for the Milwaukee Bucks, and it sounds like this will be a 3 or 4 team trade, a lot of people are reporting that Tyler Hero will probably end up with the Detroit Pistons. While this is not a super impressive package for the Bucks, in my opinion, because what's the high ticket item? Jaime Jaquez is multiple years into the league now. Same with Nikola Jovic. Kel'el Ware, I think, is only in his second year in the NBA coming up, or third. I think second. And then the number 13th pick, that's not a great pick. Future first for the Miami Heat, a good organization. Again, none of that is super intriguing to me if I'm the Milwaukee Bucks. But if I'm Giannis, going to a team where last year the main players were a lot of those guys I mentioned, but Bam, Wiggins, Norman Powell, Davion Mitchell, and Pele Larson, is that team any closer to competing for a championship than the Milwaukee Bucks currently are? Unless he just wants to go live in Miami, which I don't blame you if you want to move from Milwaukee, Wisconsin to Miami, Florida. That certainly, can be intriguing in a sense. but it's being reported that he doesn't want to leave the city of Milwaukee. So I just can't really understand the move for Giannis going to the Miami Heat for either the Bucks, the Heat, or Giannis. All around, I don't understand this trade. The second team that's in play is the Boston Celtics. Now, side note, I'm a Boston Celtics fan, and it sounds like the Bucks are asking for Jaylen Brown and 3 first-round picks. That is a ton for Giannis Antetokounmpo this late in his career. A guy that has not played a lot of games over the last few years, has missed playoff games with injuries, missed the playoffs, missed a ton of regular season basketball games. And he's not a player that, in my opinion, is going to age really well because he's not a great jump shooter. And so he relies a ton on athleticism, his speed. His strength won't really go away, but his speed, his jumping ability, agility, his ability to defend. And we don't always see those kind of guys age at an elite level. A lot of our best players that have aged really well at the end of their careers have been able to really dominate in the mid-range game, in the post-up game. You see LeBron, KD, obviously Steph's a great shooter, but those guys are able to dominate basketball, kind of an old man style of play, and I'm not sure that Giannis will really translate into being able to play that old man style of basketball. So he's a little bit of an injury concern. I don't think he's going to age super well, with this style of play. I don't think if you're the Celtics, you give up Jaylen Brown and 3 first-round picks, even though it does seem that Jaylen Brown has a little bit of contentiousness with the organization or the fan base or whatever in Boston. I'm not even saying that you shouldn't trade Jaylen Brown. In fact, it might be time to move on, but I would want to get, younger and really build out your roster rather than going all in for Giannis Antetokounmpo. But there are teams with real trade assets that could make moves. Now, obviously, I probably wouldn't do some of these trades to the San Antonio Spurs, or the Oklahoma City Thunder. Both of those teams could very easily make this trade that would end up really good for the Milwaukee Bucks, and they wouldn't have to totally strip their rosters of their main pieces, and I think he'd be a better fit than he would be with Miami. Even a team like the Houston Rockets, they have a lot of good pieces. You have Kevin Durant that's at the end of his career, so the timeline matches up a little better. All in all, I just don't really understand a lot about this story. I think that Giannis could be beneficial to a lot of organizations. I don't think the ones mentioned he is going to drastically change their fortunes for the next 5 years. Yes, the Celtics could win a championship with Tatum and Giannis Antetokounmpo. You'd feel like that's a pretty good roster. Derek White and, other players you build around him. But the Miami Heat, I don't even think that I'd pick that team to be, one of the 2 or 3 favorites in the Eastern Conference if they're rolling out a team with Norman Powell, Bam Adebayo, Giannis Antetokounmpo as their big 3. I just don't understand the space. I don't understand the spacing. That's what I talked about primarily. But I'm ready for the story to be over. I'm ready for Giannis to be traded or the rumors to be squashed and he signs a huge extension in Milwaukee and he never once traded again. And we be done with this story and move on to the offseason. There's so much to discuss. A huge NBA draft coming up on Tuesday. Ton of free agency moves, we hope. Trades. We love drama in the NBA. Let's just start to see some stuff happen. Other than Colin Gillespie, who just signed, as I'm recording this video, he just signed an extension. But I really want to see a lot happen in this offseason. If you love the NBA, make sure you take a second to subscribe to the channel. Appreciate y'all watching. Saborgal.